Hey there, sports fans. This is Jenny, and you're tuned into the Sports Day Tribune channel. Today, we're diving into a story that's as corny as it gets, but in the best way possible. We're talking about none other than WNBA sensation Caitlin Clark, and how she's taken over the cornfields of Indiana. Yeah, you heard that right. So picture this. You're driving through the beautiful state of Indiana, surrounded by endless fields of corn, and suddenly, you see a familiar face emerging from the stalks. No, it's not a basketball-playing scarecrow. It's Caitlin Clark herself, immortalized in a corn maze. Talk about amazing, right? This incredible tribute comes courtesy of County Line Orchard in Hobart, Indiana. These folks have outdone themselves, turning their cornfield into a work of art that'd make Van Gogh jealous. They've carved out an intricate design featuring Clark in her iconic number 22 jersey, basketball in hand, ready to dominate the court, or in this case, field. But wait, there's more. The maze doesn't just show Clark's likeness, it also has the words, "We love Caitlin Clark," etched into the corn. Now that's what I call a corny love letter. But jokes aside, this is a pretty big deal. It's not every day that an athlete gets their face carved into a field of corn, is it? Now, you might be wondering, Jenny, why a corn maze? Well, let me tell you, this isn't just about creating a fun fall activity, although I'm sure it'll be a blast for visitors. This maze is a testament to Clark's meteoric rise in the world of women's basketball and her growing influence on the sport. Think about it. Clark has gone from dominating college basketball at the University of Iowa to taking the WNBA by storm in her rookie season. She's not just playing the game, she's changing it. And now, she's literally changing the landscape of Indiana. Folks at County Line Orchard put it perfectly when they said, "We are celebrating women's sports by designing our maze in the likeness of Caitlin Clark. Her success and impact on the WNBA is a huge inspiration, and as a proud Indiana business, we wanted to honor her achievement." I mean, can we give these people a round of applause? They're not just jumping on the bandwagon, they're driving it through a cornfield. But let's rewind a bit and talk about Clark's journey to this corny fame. It wasn't too long ago that she was lighting up the court for the Iowa Hawkeyes. Her college career was nothing short of spectacular. She was breaking records left and right, dropping three-pointers like they were going out of style, and generally making opposing teams wonder if they could petition to have her banned for being too good. And then came the WNBA draft. The Indiana Fever had the first pick, and let me tell you, they didn't hesitate for a second. They snatched up Clark faster than you can say Cornhusker. And boy, has that decision paid off. Since joining the WNBA, Clark has been nothing short of phenomenal. She's currently averaging 19.2 points per game, which is impressive enough for a rookie. But here's the kicker. She's leading the entire league in assists, dishing out a whopping 8.5 per game. That's not just good, that's historically good. In fact, Clark is on the verge of breaking the all-time regular season assists record. With just 4 games left in the season, she's only 11 assists away from etching her name in the WNBA history book. Now, I'm not a betting woman, but if I were, I'd put money on Clark smashing that record before the season's out. But here's the thing about Caitlin Clark. She's not just changing the game on the court. She's changing the entire landscape of women's sport. And I mean that quite literally, as this corn maze proves. Think about it. How many athletes can say they've been immortalized in corn? Sure, we've seen faces on cereal boxes, but a whole cornfield? That's next level. It's like the Midwest's version of Mount Rushmore, only with more butter potential. Speaking of butter, did you know that last year they made butter sculptures of Clark at the Iowa State Fair? I'm not kidding. From butter to corn, Clark is quickly becoming the most delicious athlete in sports history. I'm just waiting for the day they make a Caitlin Clark-shaped waffle iron. Breakfast of champions. Anyone? But let's get back to the corn maze for a second. Can you imagine being Caitlin Clark and seeing your face carved into a field? I mean, talk about surreal. One day you're shooting hoops in your driveway and the next you're a human-sized puzzle that people are trying to solve. That's got to mess with your head a little, right? And it's not just corn mazes and butter sculpture. Before Clark even played her first WNBA game, Gatorade, one of her major sponsors, unveiled a massive banner featuring her image on the side of the Hyatt Regency in Indianapolis. We're talking building-sized here, folks. Clark went from college star to city skyline in the blink of an eye. But here's the thing. Clark isn't just a pretty face on a banner or a cool design in a cornfield. She's the real deal on the court. Her transition from college to the pros been smoother than a freshly buttered ear of corn. See what I did there? I'm really milking these corn puns, aren't I? But seriously, Clark's impact on the WNBA has been immediate and profound. She's not just putting up impressive numbers, she's changing the way the game is played. Her ability to score from anywhere on the court, combined with her exceptional court vision and passing skills, makes her a nightmare for opposing teams. And let's talk about those assists for a moment. Leading the league in assists as a rookie? That's unheard of. It's like she has eyes in the back of her head. Actually, given this corn maze, maybe she does have eyes in the back of her head. Has anyone checked? But jokes aside, Clark's playmaking ability is truly something special. She's not just scoring, she's making everyone around her better. That's the mark of a true superstar. She's not content with personal glory, she wants to elevate the entire team. And that's exactly what she's doing for the Indiana Fever. Now, I know some of you might be thinking, Jenny, you're making a big deal out of a corn maze. It's just a bit of fun, right? Well, yes and no. Sure, it's a fun attraction for families to enjoy during the fall season. But it's also so much more than that. This corn maze is a symbol of Clark's impact on the sport and on the community. It's a testament to how quickly she's become not just a star, but a cultural icon. In the heartland of America, where basketball is religion and farming is a way of life, Clark has managed to bring these two worlds together in the most unexpected and delightful way. And let's not forget, this is happening in her rookie season. Can you imagine what kind of tributes we'll see if she continues on this trajectory? We might see Caitlin Clark water towers, Caitlin Clark-shaped clouds, okay, maybe that's a stretch, or even entire cities renamed after her. Clarkville, Indiana has a nice ring to it, don't you think? But all joking aside, what Clark is doing is truly remarkable. She's not just playing basketball, she's inspiring a whole new generation of young athletes. She's showing girls everywhere that they can dream big, that they can be the face of a sport, that they can change the game. And it's not just girls she's inspiring. Clark's appeal transcends gender. She's making fans out of people who've never watched a women's basketball game in their lives. She's drawing eyes to the WNBA in a way that few players have before. In short, she's a game changer, in every sense of the word. Now, let's talk about the pressure that comes with all this attention. Imagine being 22 years old and having all these expectations on your shoulders. The #1 draft pick, the face of a franchise, the potential record breaker, and now, the human corn maze. That's a lot for anyone to handle. But Clark seems to be taking it all in stride. She's playing with a confidence and joy that's infectious. She's not buckling under the pressure, she's thriving on it. And that, perhaps more than anything else, is what makes her so special. You know, it's funny. In sports, we often talk about athletes leaving their mark on the game. Well, Clark is literally leaving her mark on the landscape of Indiana. And not just any mark, a giant, intricate, corn-shaped mark that people can get lost in. Now that's what I call making an impression. But let's zoom out for a moment and consider what this corn maze represents in the bigger picture. It's not just about Caitlin Clark. It's about the growing popularity and recognition of women's sports as a whole. For too long, women's sports have been sidelined, underappreciated, and underfunded. But things are changing. We're seeing more coverage, more sponsorships, more fans in the stands. And athletes like Caitlin Clark are at the forefront of this change. Clark isn't just a great basketball player. She's a symbol of what's possible. She's showing that women's sports can be just as exciting, just as competitive, and just as worthy of celebration as men's sports. And if that celebration comes in the form of a giant corn maze, well, why not? Now, I know some cynics out there might say, it's just a corn maze. It doesn't mean anything. But I beg to differ. In the grand scheme of things, maybe a corn maze isn't that important, but what it represents, recognition, the admiration, the cultural impact, that's huge. Think about it. How many athletes get this kind of recognition in their rookie season? How many athletes inspire local businesses to create massive tributes like this? Not many. And the fact that it's happening for a female athlete in a league that's still fighting for mainstream recognition, that's nothing short of revolutionary. And let's not forget, this isn't happening in a big coastal city. This is happening in the heartland of America. In a state known for its love of basketball, sure, but also for its traditional values. The fact that Clark has captured the imagination of this community so quickly and so completely is a testament to her universal appeal. But here's the thing. Clark isn't resting on her laurels. She's not content with corn mazes and butter sculptures. She's out there every game, giving it her all, trying to make her team better, trying to break records, trying to elevate the entire sport. And that's what makes her so special. She's not just a flash in the pan. She's not just a marketing gimmick. She's the real deal, a generational talent who has the potential to change the face of women's basketball for years to come. Now, I know we've been focusing a lot on Clark's impact off the court, but let's not forget what she's doing on the court. As I mentioned earlier, she's on the verge of breaking the all-time regular season assists record. That's not just impressive, it's historic. Think about that for a second. In her rookie season, Clark is about to break a record that has stood for years. A record set by some of the greatest players to ever grace the WNBA. And she's doing it while also scoring nearly 20 points a game. That's not just good, that's otherworldly. But here's the thing about Clark. She doesn't seem to care about individual accolades. Sure, breaking the assist record would be nice, but you get the sense that she'd trade it in a heartbeat for more team wins. That's the kind of player she is. That's the kind of leader she is. And that leadership, that team-first mentality, is part of what makes her so beloved. It's why fans are flocking to see her play. It's why sponsors are lining up to work with her. And yes, it's why farmers are carving her face into their cornfield. You know, it's interesting to think about Clark's journey. Just a few short months ago, she was playing in college, leading Iowa to the national championship game. Now she's a pro, face of a franchise, and apparently the face of Indiana agriculture as well. Through it all, Clark has remained grounded. She hasn't let the success go to her head. She's still the same, hard-working, team-first player she's always been. And that, perhaps more than anything else, is why she's become such an icon. Now, I know we've been talking a lot about Clark's impact in Indiana, but it's worth noting that her influence extends far beyond the borders of the Hoosier State. She's become a national sensation, a player that fans across the country tune in to watch. And it's not just fans. Other players, both in the WNBA and in college, look up to Clark. They see what she's doing, how she's changing the game, and they want to emulate her. She's inspiring a whole new generation of players to dream big, to work hard, and to never settle for less than their best. But let's bring it back to this corn maze for a moment, because I think it's a perfect metaphor for Clark's career so far. Just like navigating a corn maze, Clark's journey hasn't always been straightforward. There have been twists and turns, dead ends, and backtracking. But through it all, Clark has kept pushing forward. She's kept her eye on the goal, even when the path wasn't clear. And now, she's emerged as one of the brightest stars in the sport. Just like solving a corn maze, success in basketball, and in life, often comes down to persistence, problem solving, and a willingness to keep moving forward even when the path isn't clear. And speaking of moving forward, that's exactly what Clark and the Indiana Fever are trying to do as the season winds down. With just a handful of games left, they're pushing hard to end the season on a high note. And you can bet that Clark will be at the forefront of that effort, doing everything she can to lead her team to victory. You know, it's funny to think about how far Clark has come in such a short time. From college star to WNBA rookie to corn maze celebrity. It's been a whirlwind journey, and something tells me it's only just beginning. As we wrap up this story, I can't help but wonder what's next for Caitlin Clark. Will she break the assist record? Will she lead the Fever to a late-season surge? Will she inspire more agricultural artworks? Only time will tell. But one thing's for sure, wherever Caitlin Clark goes, excitement follows. She's not just a player, she's a phenomenon, a once-in-a-generation talent who has the potential to change the game in ways we can't even imagine yet. So here's to Caitlin Clark, basketball star, cultural icon, and now, Corn Maze muse. May her future be as bright as the Indiana sun shining down on that cornfield, and may she continue to inspire, to excite, and to remind us all of the power of sports to bring people together. As for that corn maze, well, if you're in the Hobart area this fall, why not check it out? Who knows? You might just find your way to basketball greatness. Or at the very least, you'll have a corny good time. This has been Jenny with Sports Day Tribune, bringing you the latest in sports news from the court to the cornfield. Until next time, keep your head in the game and your feet on the ground. Unless you're trying to see over a cornfield, that is.